Welcome back to the Becoming Her podcast. You guys, today is a special episode. This is the first time we are in podcast studio together.
I know.
Which is crazy.
I'm not looking at you from a screen.
I know.
I feel like our interaction is going to be off now.
It's going to be so different. I do think the energy will be slightly different, just because we can conversate back and forth. Like, not that it's not real time, I guess, over a screen, but it's just different when you're right here.
It's so much better in person.
I know. So if you guys are watching this on the recording, it's, totally different, slightly different vibe, I guess. So.
Yeah, we can look at each other.
I know.
not
across
the
screen.
Yeah.
This is Anne's first time to Utah, which has been...
Oh, and so amazing.
Yeah,
and
tell them about it.
You are an amazing host too, but
Stop it.
The landscaping, the trees, the mountains, and the hike that we did that I thought I was going to die at least 40 times on. That was earth-shattering, and I was absolutely sliding my butt on down the side of that hill. And
she was, you guys, but
oh my gosh. And the kids, the 2 and 4-year-old kids were totally just nailing it like it was no big deal.
We got our asses kicked. But the thing is we both went into this thinking it's just going to be this leisurely hike. We did not realize that it was going to be straight. When I'm saying straight uphill, you guys, it was straight uphill for almost 2 miles, and it was rocky. And there's a waterfall at the top. So we were told, we didn't even know going into the hike that there was going to be a waterfall. And then we were talking to some people mid-hike, and they're like, yeah, there's a waterfall at the top. I'm like, oh, this is why people do this hike. Mm-hmm. And so we get up to the top, and we're like, we knew that we were close to getting to the top. And we get to the top, and you guys, I'm trying to picture like just a mountain with rocks going straight up, and we see people climbing straight up. And I was like, I look at Anne, and I knew she really wanted to get to the top. I'm like, I am willing to do a lot of things. I was like, I'm pretty go with the flow. I was like, but that is not happening. And I thought we had to climb up that to get to the waterfall. And someone came around the corner, thankfully, because the waterfall was right around the corner. I mean,
10 feet from where we were, from where we literally almost gave up and went back.
It was so funny. I was like, could you imagine if we got there? Because we both looked at each other like, okay, yeah, that's not happening. As there's a 4-year-old in Crocs.
Oh, yes.
Like 4 or 5, couldn't have been older than 5, coming down this thing. And I was like, yep, we just got our ass kicked by a 5-year-old, but that is not happening.
Like it was nothing. And we both considered ourselves to be in relatively good shape, and it really humbled us quickly.
Yeah.
So for those of you that love hiking, you are amazing. We love that you love that, and that is not the type of fitness that apparently we are.
No, it is not. And it's funny because we were talking, and on the way down, it's like, I would much rather be heaving and hoeing, because it was straight uphill. So my cardio was being worked. I mean, I'm not in the best cardiovascular. I mean, I'm decent, but I mean, I'm not a marathon runner. So I was definitely like, I was sucking some wind on the way up, but I would much rather suck wind than go down. My knees got me. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We felt our age.
Yeah.
We felt our age.
But it's been fun. Anne has experienced the famous yogurt bowl. You guys hear me talk about it?
Oh, yes. It is absolutely all that it is made up to be by every stretch of the imagination. I've already gotten the ingredients delivered to my doorstep as of tomorrow morning.
It's so funny. I know. I'm like, I've convert everybody with this yogurt bowl. I'm pretty sure it's the reason my husband married me. Is the yogurt bowl I haven't made you my pumpkin pancakes yet, though.
Oh, well.
Another trip, another time. Because you leave pretty early tomorrow, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, your flight's pretty early.
Uh-huh.
Well, I've loved having you here. And she's already been, I was like, oh, she has 4 days, and now you're already going home. Sad.
I know. We had so much time.
I know. We had so much time, and now we just need to plan another trip. That's all that means. So.
Yes.
All right, you guys, we are going to do another Q&A. We had a lot of positive feedback from our last Q&A. And this is just an easy way for us to talk about a broad range of topics and just cover a lot of ground. So we're going to use some questions that we didn't get to in our last Q&A because it ran pretty long. Mm-hmm. But for future Q&A episodes, if you guys ever have questions that you guys want us to answer, please send them to myself or Anne in a DM, social media. We would love to keep those in the bank to be able to, because I plan on doing multiple of these. They're fun. They're a different way of going, like I said, covering a lot of topics in a short period of time. So I'm going to read off questions, Anne, and I'll let you go for it. I'll let you spell off first.
I love it.
Okay, then I'm just going to interject. All right, so this is from Lisa, and she says, I don't even recognize myself lately. I used to be up early, worked out, ran my house, ran my business. Now I feel like I'm underwater. No motivation, no energy, and I quite honestly don't even want to try anymore. What's happening?
Oh, Lisa, well, you are on what it sounds like is a hard path of burnout. I think when we go too long for too much, especially for those of us that are very type A personalities, and I am one of these people where we're doing all the things, we're trying to check off all the boxes. And I think when we're young, we get to a place where, you know, it's kind of exciting to hit all these milestones. It's exciting to hit a PR. It's exciting to get the job. It's exciting to get the relationship. It's exciting to get the house. Everything is new and fresh. And as we age and we get into now this new chapter of life, well, I like to call it sometimes the second teenagehood of our life, based upon what happens to our acne levels in our skin and our hormones.
Can I interject right here? Because I heard something, and this is just funny before I forget, but they reference now menopause, like what you're saying, cougar puberty.
Yeah,
yes, is how they reference it. And it's
100%.
Like, it's like puberty, but now you have a mortgage.
100%. Yes, and all the things all the things that adulting brings with it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
now we're full blown adults. We're not even under the delusion that we're no longer in our innocence. We are completely beyond that, and we are living life. And so what happens over time is that as the new wears off, we get to a place where we just don't want to keep doing anymore. We want to just relax a bit. We want to rest. And when we've been hustling most of our life and we get to middle age, that hustle, especially with the chronic hustle, it burns us out. Like our bodies, our brains, we are exhausted, we are tired, and we want to rest, but we don't know how to do it, and we don't know how to give ourselves the grace or permission to do it and do it well. And what we need in midlife is very different than we need in our younger selves, right? So I remember pulling a full all-nighters when I was in college, and a couple times when I was at work, when I was working on call, and you kind of live through it, right? You're fine. You keep moving. You're a little bit worse for the wear, but you know, you do it. And as we hit middle age, doing things like that become incomprehensible. We no longer have the same flexibility physiologically, emotionally, or mentally that we need to be able to sustain that. And quite frankly, it's not healthy for us to keep sustaining that. Yeah. And so we have to have a completely different approach for our midlife than we do our 20s and 30s, and sometimes even our early 40s. That, you know, like once we're on that 45 plus, I think, you know, but I really do believe right at 40 is when it hits for a grand majority of us, where we have to be much wiser about how we spend our time, but in particular, how we strategize rest and how we strategize work. So we have to be much, much better about the boundaries that we put in place. And we also have to be able to go at things with a greater efficiency. It's one of the reasons why I love the program that you have, is because when there's a structure to it, when there are goals to it, and you have someone else kind of guiding it for you, you go to the gym and you hit it hard for 45 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, that's it, and you're done. And at least for me, when I was in my 20s, I was burning out miles running, and hated running. Love you runners, but I hated running. But running endless miles, and I could do it, and I was enjoying it, and I love the burn and the calorie load and all the fun stuff. But now in midlife, you just can't. You can't. Your body's not as resilient. Your brain isn't quite as resilient, and we need more intentionality and more mindfulness.
So very true. And let's talk about the fact, you guys, that this is not just, I think a lot of women hit this phase and we think mentally we're tapping out. We think that we're just, you know, we're getting older and we're getting weak. But the reality is I talk about this, and you guys hear us talk about this all the time, but hormones, you guys, they're packing up, they're exiting, they're leaving the building. And as hormones start to, you know, deplete, your nervous system fries at that point. And if you have, for so many of us, myself included, I am absolutely guilty of this, lived your entire life in this go state, and you haven't really taken a period of time where you're mindful. And I know, Anne, you talk about this and you teach and you preach about this, but just understanding how to even regulate your nervous system.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so we go into midlife and hormones they're leaving and they are declining. And then ultimately a lot of women go into menopause with very little muscle to their frame to begin with, not truly fueling their body correctly. Nutrition plays a massive role here.
Yep.
And then without the understanding of how to regulate your nervous system.
Absolutely. And the days are gone that we can scarf our kids chicken nuggets and mac and cheese as we're running out the door. And we say that like there's something wrong with us as we age, but actually we get wiser about it. None of that stuff was healthy for us to begin with.
Yeah.
Our body just becomes less tolerant.
And we become less tolerant, like with our, just in general, estrogen, you guys gone, and you just don't have the tolerance. This is why your husband's chewing, right? Like, let alone like the tolerance for just the BS and the like toxic and the drama and all of those things. We become less tolerant because, again, hormones are depleted.
Yeah, hormones are depleted. I think also emotionally we're at a very different place in life too, where we don't want to have to do that. We don't want to have to keep up with the drama. We don't want to keep up with the Karens next door and the Susan across the street who's bought some new latest greatest thing, right? And so with that wisdom and that ability to acknowledge my body is screaming at me as I'm trying to do this. You know, I can't just drink 5 cups of coffee and keep moving. My body will shut me down. And even though that feels like our body is betraying us, our body is actually trying to help us regulate and take care of ourselves in a very different way, because all that stuff that we did in our youth was actually not healthy at all.
No.
And often what we don't recommend other people to do either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. 100%. And we sacrifice what was truly, when we say quote unquote healthy is relative, right? But what we think healthy, what we sacrifice at the, cost of, being our smallest self, fitting into the pair of jeans, societal standards that women operate or all that they know at growing up. And so it's like, I'm starving myself. I'm surviving on, 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, no carbs, endless amounts of cardio. And, we take a hit there, and then menopause comes into play, and it only amplifies all of that. And this is not a matter of you getting weaker. This isn't that you can't hack it anymore. This isn't, and I hear this day in and day out. The only way, I am telling you right now, having served thousands of women, and I know we want to think we're the exception to the rule. I know, and I was that person. No, I'm the one person that this doesn't make sense for. I'm the one person this doesn't work for, kind of thing. And I promise you, you're not that special. And I mean that with all the love in my heart. But the only way you're going to work through this is going to truly understand how to take a functional approach, giving your body, and I know that sounds cheesy and corny, but giving your body what it needs nutritionally, like movement-wise, sleep-wise, recovery-wise, and then bioidentical hormone replacement therapy where it makes sense. And then coming into the play of, or into a space we were talking about, Anne, of understanding how to regulate your nervous system, how to, understand what your body's going through in the moment and working with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think there's so much power in what you said about how just even tuning into what it is that our body's telling us hormone-wise, food-wise, we have to get much better skilled and more mindful of being able to do that so that our body stops screaming at us. And to be fair, honestly, I believe that it has been screaming at us the whole stinking time.
Oh, absolutely. We could handle it more. Our body didn't, it was screaming, but we could shove it under the rug and we could push through.
And we had to.
Yeah, we had to.
We had kids, we had jobs, we had careers, we had things that we had to get to. Like, we had to do it, and so it was adaptive. But now it's no longer adaptive.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Anything else to add to that before we move on to the next one? Okay, so this is right up your alley, Anne, and I'm excited to chat about this. And I know that this is something every single person is be like, oh my God, yes, I resonate hard with this. But I finish dinner and I immediately want something else. I'm not even hungry. It's like my brain won't shut up about food. What's wrong with me? And this is from Dana, 52 years old.
Well, and it's hard to know exactly everything that's going on. But I think one of the things that will happen is we potentially have a few things that are happening. One is that you're not actually eating enough food.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
That you get to the end of the day and you are actually incredibly hungry because you're under eating. And for those of you that are saying, but I've been doing this for decades, or I've been doing this most of my life, why now? Yes, just reference the last question that we answered. Because now in your life, your body is out of energy and it doesn't want to keep doing the same things. And it's going to get louder, not quieter as we age. All right, so 1, you're not eating enough food. 2, we need it for emotional regulation. So we need something sweet. We need and it's fine. It's fine if you need something sweet. If you need something small and sweet. But if we are just simply grazing away the evening, or that small sweet thing moves from 1 scoop of ice cream to 5 scoops of ice cream, and then a chocolate bar, and then some chips, and then some random stuff, then what's happening is that we're actually needing and using food to cope. And this is a common phenomenon across the board in America, in the evening. I ask people time and time again, what's the time of day that you struggle the most? And everyone says, can you guess?
Evening. Oh, for me, that's the same thing. It's like I want something sweet before I go to bed. It's the way that I unwind. It's the way that I relax.
Yes, and we have replaced it with alcohol now, especially for women, middle-aged women. Wow. I'm speaking to you. And I have done that as well in my life, where you just get into this pattern of coming home. It's been a hard day. I'm going to grab a glass of wine. And then the next day is, but it's Friday. I'm going to grab another glass or two. And then the next day it's date night, so another two more. But this is what we're doing with food. We're doing it with alcohol. This is everything that's happening. And the solution to this isn't to keep doing the same thing. The solution to this is to develop different strategies so that coping in the evenings and unwind time becomes something that you actually look forward to that's healthy for us. Initially, though, what I will say, and I say this to every single person that I deal with, it will not feel good.
No.
So this isn't like you're replacing your ice cream sundae with a walk and then you're like, oh, that was magical. Why did I not do that the entire time? No one ever says that. The entire time that we're on the walk, we're thinking about the ice cream sundae.
Said nobody ever, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But what happens is that over time, as we develop these skill sets and we develop new ways of coping, so maybe that walk turns into, now I'm going to come home and I'm going to have a mocktail. And I'm going to take a nice long bath with some Epsom salt crystals. And I'm going to play some jazz music. And I'm going to light a candle. Now, all of a sudden, I'm creating for my body, the psychology behind it is amazing, but creating even for my body, this really peaceful environment that slows us down, right? And you think about, for those of us that had little kids, I don't know about you guys, but what I did, I got dimmer switches on all the lights in my home. In the evening, all those lights came down. The kids had a nice bath. I rubbed their back, I read them books, the lights got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer because I'm trying to get their bodies into that space of sleep, right? I'm trying to do all this great sleep hygiene to get them ready for the evening. Well, if we begin practicing that instead of just going for the food, instead of just going for the chocolate, the popcorn, the chips, whatever it is, then what happens is that we create a good habit for ourselves that we have something else to rely on. But it forces us into a place of actually identifying and dealing with the emotions that come up during the day. And that sometimes is the harder part.
Oof, the emotion with it. There's so much emotion attached to food. And so when you use food as a coping mechanism and you get to a place where you're like, okay, you start to realize that this is a problem and it's impacting your fat loss goals, your, just any sort of health and fitness goal that you have. When you go to try to, like Ann said, completely eliminate, it's not that we have to completely eliminate. There's emotion, and it does not, if anything, not even, it doesn't feel good. It feels really freaking uncomfortable. Like you get pissy. It's like there is emotion that is attached to that. And so I'd like to add to this a couple things. First and foremost, when it comes to food noise, when you understand, and this is why I speak, oh my God, so often to the fact that when you truly understand how to fuel your body and what is true food freedom, because I think a lot of people confuse food freedom with being able to eat whatever you want whenever you want, and to me that's not the definition of food freedom. The definition of food freedom is understanding how to give your body what it needs,
yes,
and combine it with what you love,
yes,
and then ultimately getting to a place where you're truly in the driver's seat, right? Like
yes.
When it comes to, so let's take our dinner last night for a perfect example. Ann and I went out to dinner last night. I took her to one of my little favorite places in the small town that I grew up, and we ordered and had a glass of wine. I was driving, so I didn't have a glass of wine, but we ordered bacon wrapped dates for appetizer, which were phenomenal. I ordered a cup of soup. It kind of came out cold, which I was really bummed out about. But then I got the steak, and then that came with veggies and like this mushroom sauce, and Ann ordered this halibut curry thing that was like stupid good,
with
right?
Coconut rice and spinach. It was divine.
It was so good. But both of us were able to, we didn't finish the whole appetizer. We were able to have a couple bites and be satiated. Both of us took our meal. We shared a little bit. I pulled off the extra cream sauce because I understand how to, like, what's just worth it and what's not. So I ate the protein of my steak. You ate quite a bit of your halibut. She enjoyed a glass of wine, and then we came home and I made a yogurt bowl, right? Because that is to me, like, I would rather have that than any dessert. But my point here is, and this is a really long-winded way of saying that, when you understand, not just when Ann said how much, like the amount of food you're eating, but the breakout of that food.
Yes.
When you understand how to give your body enough, particularly protein and carbs and whole foods, not protein, fiber, and whole foods, but yes, carbs are a part of that. So when you are protein specifically, fueling your body with that keeps your belly happy and satiated. Fiber, obviously, same benefits there, but we're talking blood sugar regulation on top of that. We're talking being able to flush out like excess estrogen. There's just so many blood sugar regulation, but there's so many amazing benefits to fiber. So when you understand how to fuel your body correctly, that is a huge piece of those cravings that come into play. And people are like, but like the cravings overpower them. And I know you'll have a lot to say this, but the biggest piece of this is understanding, again, not just how much food, but the breakout of your food, how much that matters, but ultimately also planning for. So if you're somebody like myself, like you said, what's the hardest time of day? It's the nighttime. Everybody has that sweet, the sweet tooth comes in, and you plan for that into your day. So there is not a day, and Ann sees this now, there's not a night that goes by that I don't have my yogurt bowl. And it is, my whole day gets planned around my yogurt bowl, because I know the evening time for me is the time that I am going to have my cravings come out hot, and that is when I want my sweet treat. And so my whole day gets planned around that. And so it's not that I can't have something sweet. And when you learn how to, and Ann and I were like talking about how just fun it is to macrofy food, take different recipes that are super calorically dense and just make them taste just as good, but half the calories. I love being able to play around with recipes like this. One of my absolute favorite things to do. And so when you can plan for and you get ahead, and you also understand how to fuel your body correctly, the food noise, this is what I talk about being in the driver's seat. This is what I talk about. It's not about restricting. It's about understanding, and it's about being mindful of portion sizes and the quality and quantity of your food.
And let me speak to this, because I think this is really important. This is how this works. Yeah. When you have your macros kind of lined up, and you meal plan, you prep, you know what your meals are going to look like in the evening, you know what your snacks are going to look like in the evening, you plan to have the foods that you enjoy throughout the week. What happens then is that when you notice food noise at that point, you understand that it's about a feeling, and it's not actually about the food, because I know that my belly is full. I know that I've hit my nutrients, and some of hitting our nutrients actually makes the food noise significantly smaller, which is wonderful. But then what happens is that if you still have food noise, that is an emotional need that isn't being met.
Yeah, for sure.
That is anger from a coworker interaction. You're ticked at your husband because he's chewing loud or snoring ridiculously. You're having some upset with one of your kids. Like, this is kind of life, right? And the only way that we're going to get to that is if we get some space from the food to be able to actually identify what's happening internally and to have that introspective. And the way that I ask this is going to sound really goofy, because this is so simple. When I have somebody in my office and they're saying, I just can't stop thinking about this, and I ask them, what has been the most annoying or the hardest part of your week? That's it. It's not rocket science. This is after 25 years of working in this industry as a psychologist. And I ask them a really common question. And usually they'll come up with one, maybe two things, but that one thing they already know about. And all I do is I needle in on that one thing, and I say to them, why was that so hard for you? What was the hardest part of that? And how are you feeling about that? And once we get there, what happens is that food noise goes away. And it goes away because they're talking about what is really bothering them.
We're sitting with the emotion.
Yes.
And that is the hardest part for so many people, the emotional, the mental side of this. And I always say it's not the sexy side of it, of course, but it's the most uncomfortable side. And it's not we can't hold that, right? Yes. Like, we cannot hold that and visibly see that. So it's the hardest part for us to, it's the hardest part for us to work through, because it's not tangible. And those feelings that come up for a lot of people is so ungodly, uncomfortable to sit with.
Absolutely.
How do you recommend, for you, what are some things that you give your clients when it comes to coping with these things without food? Sitting in that, being able to sit in that uncomfort, that discomfort.
So my analogy of this, and this is from when I was working on this. So this is way back in the day when I was trying to figure out how not to just emotionally eat and overconsume. And the analogy that I had, we have an outdoor venue in Indiana, where I'm from, called Ruoff, and we have a lot of music venues, and sometimes they have porta potties out there. So what I said is that what it felt like for me was being at this venue after it had been used by hundreds, if not thousands, of people that had gone through these porta potties out in the hot August humid sun of Indiana. And somebody asks you to lift up the toilet seat and go sit down in the blue goo and all of the junk that's down there. And that's the best analogy that I could come up with. Like, I'm really selling sitting in your feelings right now, right? Like, this is, but that's what, like, I just wanted to crawl out of my skin because all I wanted to do was eat. That's it. I just wanted to eat my food, my ice cream, my chocolate, my whatever that was, my donuts. And so in sitting in that, we have to engage in at least some distraction techniques. We have to fill up our time with alternatives. So we have to come up, and I tell people this all the time, come up with 4 to 5 different things that you're going to only fill space with. That's it. It is a space filler to get you to bed. And again, I know that I'm not selling this right now. Like, we want to hear therapists talk about it's this magical experience, and then I had this wonderful cry,
and that we're shitting Skittles at the end, and sunshine and rainbows.
That's right. But when we're learning how to do this, especially when we're emotionally attached to food, it feels like nails down a chalkboard, right? It's awful. But I tell you, you do that once, you do it twice, you do it 5 times in a row, you do it 10 times in a row. And what happens after you do it, you get over that 2-week hump, is you start, it's like a roller coaster ride. It goes straight up, and you're like, oh, this is going to be bad. I'm going to die. This is going to be awful. And then you come straight
to down in your face,
right?
in the down. You're like, oh.
and then it gets fun, right? And the fun part usually hits around day 30, day 45, where the noise goes away completely because you have taught your body how to sit in that emotion. And those emotions, all they are, that's it. This is all that it is. Chemicals in our body. That's it. Like adrenaline, cortisol, the same thing that we feel when we're scared, we're watching a scary movie. Those are emotions that have to be sat in. That's it. And then once we get through it and we learn how to do it, and our body learns how to do it, and we learn that we're going to be okay without the chocolate, without the ice cream, without the donuts, then you're like, oh, I can do this.
Yep.
And those distraction techniques, if we do them consistently enough, wind up becoming our hobbies.
Oh, for sure. And things that you look forward to. Those just, like, for me, movement, right? Walks. I look forward to and I know that sounds silly, but my daily walks are a time for me to just mentally clear my head. It's a time for me to maybe just browse social media, right? Like, be numbless, be mindless. Like, I look forward to that movement. And I know for a lot of people, you're like, oh, you want me to move instead of eat? And same thing it is with the food that you start to consume. Your body starts, your palate changes. And so we look forward, like, I love nothing more than vacation. It's one of my favorite. We travel a lot, but by the end of the vacation, I'm so ready to come home and eat normal food and get back into my normal routine. And those are things that you start to appreciate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's a rhythm to everything. The body is actually wired for homeostasis, meaning, any highs and lows are really hard for it. And so when we come back to the rhythm of daily life, just like everything, like going to work, having a 9-to-5 job, or taking your kids to certain things, we cultivate that rhythm, and then our body gets accustomed to it, and then it learns to expect it. And in various seasons, I don't know about this for you, but I know for my kids, when they were in sports and the sports would ratchet up, it felt like I was going all the time. I was going to lose my mind, and then I finally figured it out, and I get into the zone, and then the sport would end, and I'd be like, okay, I'm still like meal planning the day before, and I'm bringing it, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to put it in stuff and figure it out, and send a text message to my kids to eat before I show up, and and so while I would appreciate when the seasons would get slower and softer, the momentum that I had built up was actually pretty phenomenal to what I could do, right? And I think that many of us are like that, and just intrinsically, we know we're going to do it. We know that we'll get there, and it's miserable, but then we wind up getting there, and then we're like, wow, I could do more than I thought I could.
We're so much more resilient than what we give ourselves credit for. We really are. And it's one of those, what's that saying, fear is a mile wide and an inch deep kind of thing. It's like we think it's so much more than what it is, and then we actually start doing the thing. We're like, oh, that really wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be in my head. Kind of thing, right? And so, yes, a lot of the things that we speak to require some pre-planning and some intentionality, my favorite word, of course, absolutely. But it's not this over-dramatic saga that we make it out to be in our heads half of the time.
Well, and I think our hike was a good example of this.
Yes, it was.
Because multiple times up the hike, we had no idea how long this hike was. We had no idea where it was going to. We started this hike, and it was uphill, a grand chunk of the first, it was like first 20, 30 minutes or something. It just kept going up, all right? And we would meet some people, and finally there was one person, and I stopped, and I asked her, I said, well, what are we going to? And where, how far it is?
How much, is there an end to this? Because I was told, I'm like, I don't know if there's an end. Are we just going to keep walking? And I was like trying to play cool. I'm like, I can hang. I got this.
and then we asked someone else, and they told us, oh yeah, it's just up, and you it's another like mile or so. And then we asked someone else, and they said, it's 15. It's about. She said it's for women.
Girl math.
Yes, she said girl math. It's about 15 minutes.
Yeah. And we got 15 minutes. We totally got
this,
that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And everybody just all along the way, we were asking for more information and more feedback.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're doing. Is that along this path, we're just trying to communicate to ourselves just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, and then you get there and you're like, oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Like okay, like that wasn't great. Mm-hmm. Some of it was beautiful scenery. It was a little bit painful from time to time, a little bit anxiety provoking other times, but we got there and it was well worth it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, the top was well worth the climb. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as cheesy as that analogy is, right?
Yes.
The top was well worth the climb. All right, anything to add to that before we move on here?
I think that was great.
Okay. So Heather says, you talk to a lot of people that aren't doing the things, working out, eating enough protein, but I'm truly doing everything right and it's not working. I feel like my body is rebelling, it's fighting against me. I know menopause could be a thing is what she says, but I am really doing all of the things. And she goes on to, this is a really long-winded, so I'm just taking out the highlights. Yep. And for those watching this, I'm reading my phone because I have these on my phone. And she says that, I understand that menopause could be a thing, but you say often, Nicole, that menopause doesn't mean that you can't lose weight. And I will elaborate on that because I absolutely, yes, 1,000%. But my body, like I'm working out, I'm eating clean basically, and it's not working. My body hates me.
Yeah. So it's funny because I think that was my story.
You're like, why did that sound so awful like me?
My initial response?
Well, her name's Heather, but Heather resonates with you.
Heather, we're in the same fan club on here, where I think, again, what we were doing in our 20s and our 30s, and I think we go into doctors and doctors tell us, I know I was told this, eat less, move more, eat better foods. That was kind of in a nutshell. Just get the calories down, the weight will come off.
Yep.
And a couple different things that were really eye-opening for me. One was tracking food, and
winner chicken dinner.
I fought my coach initially on this one because I had so many years of calorie counting and obsessiveness and compulsivity around it. I was like, nope, bought that ticket. Saw the
I have no desire going there again.
Not doing it. And finally, she kind of like gingerly convinced me to do it. And what I discovered is that while I was under eating during most of the week, that when I would do exercise, I was massively overcompensating for it. And on the weekends or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was like, oh, but I did so great all week. I mean, so what if I have a little extra this? And what if I have a little extra that? And yeah, so I have Mexican food, but I did a 20-mile ride so I can eat, 2 baskets of chips and some queso.
Yeah, I burned those calories.
That's right.
Burned those calories, yeah.
And what I found when I tracked is I massively overestimated the calories I burned when I exercised.
And underestimated the amount of calories you consumed.
Yeah. And I also didn't appreciate that how if you even out the calories and you get really, really good about planning for your week as a whole and eating much more consistently and much more fluidly, but knowing what to eat and the combinations. I'm not talking about diet foods. I'm not talking about like, you have to get in this before you do this and then do 8 jumping jacks and then drink a glass of water kind of nonsense of the diet.
Why you jump up and down and rub your belly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of the diets that we live through. I've done it all too. But really understanding what you're targeting. And once you get really, really good at it, again, there's a rhythm, right?
There is a rhythm.
There's a rhythm.
Absolutely a rhythm.
And then you just do it naturally.
Yep.
And so instead of going from being hungry all week and then over consuming on the weekend, I went from being satisfied all week and being satisfied on the weekend. And every now and then I'd pipe, like, yes, I still enjoy chips and queso. I speak about this often. I still love dessert, have dessert almost every single day. But the difference is that you make everything fit like a budget. And I don't mean budget like a diet. I hear people talk about this all the time where they go, when you say that, what I'm hearing you say is, you mean diet. No. That's not what I mean. I mean, you get a paycheck. I get a paycheck. We know how much money we're bringing in. Yep. We know what we got to pay our bills first. and then we got fun money, right? That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. It's 1,000% what it is.
You do that, everything shifts. It's no longer an issue whether or not you're good enough. It's not a failure of your willpower. It's simply, I'm feeding my body. And when I did it, and they pushed up my calories, and I fought like a Dickens. And she said, you do understand, my first coach said, you do understand, I just average what you were eating every week.
And when that clicked, you were like, holy shit.
And I was like, but it's like $500 calories more than what I normally eat. And she's like, yeah, but you're eating it anyway when you eat more on the weekend.
And you're like, that was an aha moment. I'm sure when that clicks, you're like, damn it.
It's like, how many degrees do you have to have before you math? Apparently more than I got. And when you learn how to do the real basics around it, I think this is the premise of also intuitive eating. Mm-hmm. When you learn the basics, and a dietitian would walk people through this without doing the macro split, without necessarily even doing the calorie load split. They'd say get in 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, you get in two or 3 servings of proteins, get in some servings of dairy. You're doing the same exact thing. Yeah. You're just developing mindfulness skills around eating.
Yep.
That's it.
100%. And what I want to remind people here too is I love the intentionality behind I'm walking. I love the intentionality behind I'm eating more protein. I even love the intentionality behind I'm eating healthy, right? And healthy is relative, but typically for most people when they say they're eating healthy, they are trying to get more greens in. They're trying to be more mindful of whole foods. I love all of those things. I love them. However, what you fail to understand when it comes to fat loss comes down to strategy. Mm-hmm. And those things inherently themselves are not a strategy. They are part of a strategy, but they're not a strategy that is truly unique and custom to you. And so I guess this is pro and con. Pros are that you could con would be what you consider I'm eating clean, I'm eating healthy. You could eat all clean foods, all healthy foods, and still be in a caloric surplus. And I'm talking clean, healthy foods, and you're going to gain weight. Yes. But the pro to that is you could eat a cookie, a donut, consume enough protein, be in a calorie deficit, and you're going to lose weight. Yep. So the strategy is what people are lacking. It's not the day-to-day, the nuances that you're lacking, because you are doing those things, but you're doing those things without context. And context is everything. And it is basic. I mean, fat loss really does come down to basic elementary school math. It does. Mm-hmm. It is calories in, calories out. Now, yes, absolutely, for those that are listening, but Nicole, you don't understand my insulin resistance, my PCOS, my autoimmune. Those things absolutely impact how achieving the calorie deficit. They impact more so the output part of the equation. They make things more challenging, but it doesn't defy what drives fat loss, which is calories in, calories out. It's energy balance, right? And so ultimately, those things can make, again, things a bit more difficult and do require more strategy if you are working those things. Those things absolutely require more strategy. But it doesn't take away from the law of thermodynamics. It's energy balance. And so if you're in a calorie deficit, you're consuming enough protein. I say consuming enough protein because we talk fat loss around here, not just weight loss, right? You will lose body fat. And that is the part that people don't quite grasp. And I think it's because there is still so much negative stigma, like you said, around tracking. And you felt that for a long time. I subscribed to that. I did that. That's not something that I want. And I speak so passionately to this because I don't want that. Like Anne being here is like one of those things, like she tracks and she's in a period where she's tracking. I don't track anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm not in that phase of my journey. Now, if I were to say, okay, I want to, drop 10 pounds to lean out, to fit or feel really good in my bikini for a vacation, the food scale comes back out, the tracking app comes back out. I'm no different, right? Mm-hmm. The calorie deficit drives the show, accuracy, consistency drives it for me. So I'm no different than anybody else. But I want for every single person to get to a place where they can intuitively eat. Yep. They can understand what that looks like, what that feels like. And that is something, again, that is what every single person should strive for. But that doesn't mean that there won't be a time and a place that, again, I feel like every single person on this planet should spend a period of time tracking their intake, to not even just understand, like, not just to track, but to understand what that and be mindful and aware. Because what I see people do is they track to say that they're tracking, and they scan a couple things, they log it into an app, but they're not present when they're tracking. That's right. They're just doing it to check off a box. But if I were to say, what does, like when you were weighing out there, you're like, oh, I about nailed this, right? Because you were weighing out your ground beef or your sweet potato bowl. And I was like, I have the food scale. You're like, okay, yeah, that would be great. So I pulled the scale out, and you were like 0.1 ounce off. Like you were right on the money with your,
in terms of how I eyeballed it.
Well, in terms of how you eyeballed it, but that comes from you being present and aware. When you are tracking, you're like, oh, that's what 6 ounces of ground beef really looks like.
Yep.
That's what 6 ounces of chicken looks like. Oh, that's 50 grams of avocado. Shit, that's not a lot of avocado, right? And that adds up calorically. So that's what I mean by being aware and present. And that is the skill set that we're looking to master, because when we go to intuitively eat, this is what gives you the flexibility and freedom to be able to understand how to swap foods out, how to still hit your macro targets, how to eat to enjoy life too, not just eat to eat or eat to live. We want to eat to enjoy life, because food is so much more than fuel. It's social, it's entertainment, it's enjoyment. And those are things like when we went out to eat last night, I was very mindful of the fact that I knew we were going to have a yogurt bowl. Well, at least I wasn't sure if you were, I knew I was going to have a yogurt bowl.
I was committed at that point.
Yeah, she's like,
you offered me a cookie and I was like, I want that yogurt bowl. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to try this cookie.
We stopped to get my husband a brownie at that Ballerina Farms place, and I got my husband a brownie, and I was like, oh, that apple cookie looks good. I might want to bite. And I was like, well, do you want that? And she's like, no, yogurt. And I was like, all right, you're singing my love language. But I knew when we were eating that I was going to have the yogurt bowl. So I was very mindful of fat consumption. I mean, I enjoyed everything. I didn't turn anything down, but I prioritized it differently than those who don't have that same skill set probably would.
Yes. And the number one reason that I still track today is because when I consistently don't track, because of the amount of protein that I want to get in, and the fact that I'm not a big fan of meat. It's not that I dislike meat. I just don't prefer it.
Yeah.
Right? That when I go off for a few days without tracking it, because I'm always looking at my protein, I will be under my protein consistently. Mm-hmm. But you know, on the way here though, I stopped at the Sky Club and I got a croissant and I got some protein and I got some cheeses and all the kind of stuff. And for me, it wasn't a matter of, oh my gosh, this thing is gonna, and this is what this used to do for me a long time ago. I would eat like a dessert, like a croissant, a chocolate croissant or a piece of chocolate or something like that. And one, I hadn't given it to myself. So then I had instant food noise. I wanted more and I wanted a lot more.
Yep.
But then two, I didn't know how to fuel my body. So I was already too hungry when I was eating that. So I was carb loading because I was starving. And then I wanted to consume it all. And instead, if it's like, oh, I need to get in protein, I feel full. I need to get in some veggies. I feel much better. I got my nutrient needs met. I can have this. This totally fits in my day. Yep. I can have this and move on.
1,000%.
And you don't have to think about it again. There's no more obsession about food. It's just a piece of your day.
It's a piece of your day, and it doesn't consume your every waking thought and action, and you look at food differently. It's like, that is actually helping me get to my goals instead of looking at it as if it's the enemy or as if it's trying to sabotage you. And that's the relationship that most women have with food. It's the enemy, it's the villain in their story. And ultimately, it's your story around food. It's not necessarily, food is absolutely not the villain. It's not the enemy. I always say it's the catalyst. And when that clicks, it's so different. When you look at food and you're like, and then you're like, oh, maybe I did have an extra cookie. It's like, well, I'm training legs tomorrow. That's going to good use kind of thing, right? Like I said, we were talking about, I was like, well, I'm burning off our dinner from last night and going up that hill because I was like, this is going to good use. But you just look at it differently. And that's just, I mean, if I could give any female anything, it wouldn't even be your dream body. It would be that peace with food.
Oh, absolutely. The food noise to go completely away.
For it to go away, because for so many women, it consumes their every waking thought and action. And it breaks my heart for women because I've been there and I know you have too. And there's just nothing more daunting than when it controls you. And there's no way around it because it's like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you eat it, you feel like shit and you have to burn it off. If you don't eat it, you're constantly thinking about it and you're just stuck between this rock and hard place until you truly fix that.
Yes.
And address that root issue of what's really going on there.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yep. Anything else to add to that?
We nailed it.
We mic drop. See, you guys, it's so much better when we're in person. I don't even think I've looked at the screen once. I'm just looking at you, which is so much more fun.
Sorry, guys.
All right. So I am trying to find these questions. Give me 2 seconds.
You're good.
Okay. Karen says, I get through the day fine, but by 8 p.m., I'm on the couch with wine, popcorn, and Netflix. I tell myself I deserve it, but I'm just numbing out. I don't even know how to stop.
Yeah. That is many women's story.
Yeah.
I think there's a sad part of that what we long for and what we deem as enjoying the evening and unwinding winds up becoming a trap for us. And one of the most powerful steps that I encourage women to take, or really anybody that I'm working with, is go and do something fun that you're really engaged in. Go to a hike, go on vacation, go be around people and really genuinely connect, play with them, laugh, go to a comedy club, go play putt-putt, be silly. And what you will find is that usually for most of us, that food noise completely dissipates. That drive to want to come home and spend the evening with a glass of wine, Netflix, and it's not that we can never have those things, but when that is the highlight of my day, everything, like, and I ask people this: what is the highlight of your week? What is the highlight of your vacation? Some of the saddest vacations that I've ever heard is a list of all the foods that people have eaten or the restaurants they went to. And I'm not saying that food can't be an important part of that
we've
journey.
talked about how it is. It's social. There's so much to that. Yes,
there's absolutely,
but it's not everything.
But if that is the be-all, end-all of the vacation, food has actually turned into kind of this, like, almost like idol for you, where like alcohol has turned into your comfort instead of people, instead of connection, instead of honest to gosh downtime.
Yep.
And when we're numbing with alcohol, when we're numbing with Netflix, when we're numbing with food, we don't actually get rest from that.
Yep.
And I hear women talk about this. I've been even in situations and in seasons of my life. I mean, one of the biggest things that we numb with is our phones. And I've spent an entire weekend binge watching Netflix on my phone. And I feel like I need a weekend for my weekend. And do you know why?
Yep.
Because I never stopped and just processed the week. I never stopped and gave my brain, my body a break and said, wow, this was hard. This was good. What is it that I'm going to do? It's that mindfulness thing we're going to talk about again, right? What is it that I'm going to do not to reward myself because I deserve it, but to take care of myself because I deserve it?
Ooh, 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 ooh. That was good. That was so good. Say that one more time. Not to reward myself because...
Not to reward myself because I deserve it, but rather to take care of myself because I deserve it.
If you guys walk away with anything this entire podcast, that is it. That was a mic drop moment.
And when you can shift that perspective from moving everything to reward because I deserve it to I'm going to take care of myself. Think about our children and think about, like, when our kids are little, right? And they're toddlers and they're hungry and they're tired and they're needing a nap, right? We don't say you deserve to go to the corner because you've been a brat all day. We say you need a nap. You need a snack. You need a hug.
Yeah.
Right? And when we go into a place of saying that we deserve something, we hit up against worthiness issues for ourselves. So that glass of wine becomes a manifestation of my worth and how hard I worked all day long, instead of taking a nice hot bath and a walk or connecting in a good conversation with your partner or a good friend.
Yep.
We get those connection pieces. You won't care about the alcohol. You won't care about the food. And you won't be consumed with what's on TV.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. What I've noticed for myself, and specifically with a lot of the women that we work with, is numbing is typically a sign of needing recovery. Not necessarily restriction, right? And I found for myself specifically, when I start to numb out with like superficial things, that I am burnt out.
Yes.
And it is like, I need a time out, put me in the corner, whatever it is, go give me a nap, give me some snacks. But
we are all toddlers.
We are all toddlers, but that is when I start to numb out with certain things. That is when I know that, like, it's a nervous system fried again. It is a recovery is just needed for me. I'm burnt out. I am burnt out, and the burnout causes me to want to numb out and just shut down almost. Numbing for me is I shut down.
Yep.
I shut down emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like I just literally, and I get to a place where I start to, slightly vulnerable, but I start to feel sorry for myself.
Yes.
And that is something for me, like pity for me in it. And when I start feeling that, then I'm angry that I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I'm like playing the pity card.
Yes.
And it's this like vicious circle I find myself in.
And I think what happens to us is that we live our life, and I want you to think about, just try this on for size. Think about saying to a toddler, you're hungry? Here, have a cookie. You're tired? Here, have a cookie. You're sad? Here, have a cookie. You're happy? Here, have a cookie.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. We wouldn't do that to our toddler. We wouldn't do that to our children. We wouldn't do it to our partner. Why are we doing it to ourselves?
Yeah. So true.
Or have a glass of wine. You're tired, you're hungry. Like, that's not the correct answer.
No, it's not.
Go take a nap.
Yeah.
Right?
Go take a nap. Go sit with your thoughts. Go.
Right. Go have a nice, good meal.
Yeah.
Go out to eat if you need to for this meal because you're too tired, right? Like, but we're taking care of our kids.
Yep.
And oftentimes we're last on that list.
Oh, 98% of the time we're last on that list because, we talk about all the hats we wear. Mm-hmm. Mom, wife, maid, chauffeur, therapist. My God. We're expected to be everywhere for everyone and be everything except for to ourselves.
Yes.
And so I know it's cheesy, but those needs get put to the back burner. It's just how most women operate. Yes. And then when we go to prioritize our needs, that's part of the, when we talk about the sitting with our emotions and why it's so uncomfortable. Why is it so uncomfortable to prioritize your needs? Why is it so uncomfortable for you to put yourself first?
As a culture, we have told women that their job is to sacrifice everything to be a good woman.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And I hear young to old women talk about this, that they feel guilty for going to the grocery store by themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like somehow that feels like a vacation. I'm leaving my husband home to babysit the kids. And I said, no, you're not leaving them to babysit. They're parenting just like you do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but it's sad when as women we think and we feel badly because we're going to the grocery store for 30 minutes of silence when our week has been filled with noise and activity. Mm-hmm. And we consider that a form of self-care that we shame ourselves over. Mm-hmm. That we feel like we're less than because we did it.
Yep.
How much differently would things happen? Would things shift in this world if instead of tearing women down for taking some time out, we supported them and we said, no, go take that time out. I see that you're overwhelmed. I see that you're frustrated. I see that you're fried. I see that you're yelling at the kids. Go. That is the best thing for you. Yep. Don't just take that 30 minutes at the grocery store. Go sit somewhere for an hour. Go to a coffee shop. Go sit in your car. Listen to silence. Yep. I don't know how many times I listened to silence in my car. Like, I just loved it.
Oh, do you know how many times I go to the gym and I would spend just 20 minutes in the car before I even went to the gym just to sit in that silence because you just don't have it. And I think that that's powerful because society tells, it's looked upon as women as if we're not working hard enough. If we stay home, right, and we take care of kids and we have all these different responsibilities, but that doesn't compare to what a man does because we're not working. And I know this is a completely different topic, but women just get demoralized and they get devalued, is a better word, is what I'm looking for what they do and how much effort and energy and work goes into taking care of everybody else.
And men do not feel the same guilt for doing that.
No, they do not. They do not.
They will say things point blank. I'm overwhelmed with the kids. I need help with the kids. Mm-hmm. What time are you coming home? Can you do this? Will you make sure? Well, this didn't get done. What happened to this? Mm-hmm. Like my husband, I'm here with you, right? And my husband does so many things. He's an amazing man, and it's so funny how there's just these natural instincts for us, and this is a part of like how I care for him. But I'm putting a grocery order in for our family for tomorrow so that he can unpack it. I'm so grateful that he's willing to unpack it and unload it. But I'm asking him on the phone, honey, what do you need? What do you like? I'll pick it. I'll send it to the house. Yeah. What do you need? Because that's just my duty, right? But we seldom, as women, let people take care of us or take care of ourselves the exact same way.
Yep. Oh, it is hard for women to do that. It is so hard. And this just goes into, we should do a whole podcast on the masculine feminine dynamic. I think that, because I have done a whole journey there. Like we've talked a little bit about that, but I think that there is just a lot to uncover and unpack there.
100%.
We're going to sidecast. We're going to sidebar on that one, but it would be such a great podcast just back and forth. You do this for a living, and then just honestly my journey and everything that I've learned from that and how it's impacted every area of my life, not even just my relationship, but how I operate as a human being.
Yes.
And giving myself permission to not have to be go, go, go all of the time, and giving myself permission to, when I used to specifically with business, and this is me sidebarring now, but with business, I would get so frustrated with myself for getting overwhelmed. I should know this. I should be able to figure this out. Remember I told you just yesterday, I was like, I hate, and this is something I still struggle with and I'm still working on, but I hate more than anything when I don't know. Anne just looked at me and I was like, I can't not know. If I'm doing something and I don't know, that is my first. And I'm still working through this, but just to hear people say that is the essence of your feminine energy. Nicole, women aren't meant to be overburdened like this. Men operate so much better in that space than women do. And just accepting that and not even accepting, but understanding that just gave me a little bit of breathing room to like, okay, well, this, like, I'm not less than, I'm not worthy because I don't know, but that's how I would look at it. It's like, I should know. And then I would get upset when I would get so frustrated and overwhelmed and and when I get overwhelmed, then I shut down. And then when I shut down, you know what I mean? So it's just this whole like vicious cycle. It's a whole vicious cycle for sure. But yeah, we need a podcast on that one. That would be so good.
Yes.
Okay, you guys, sidebar. Just so that one's coming. That's going to be on the list. All right. Anything else to add to that? Okay. So, Angela says, uno momento. I'll be on it for 2 weeks, lifting, eating right, tracking, and then something stressful happens, and I'm right back to takeout. I know better, I just don't do better. Yep. Ooh, that's powerful. I know better, I just don't do better. It's the follow through. Like, we can't commit to the follow through.
That's right. So this is, and I'm going to assume that this follows a very similar track of the yo-yo dieting mentality. I'm gonna do it all, and then I'm gonna not do anything.
Yep.
And the one of the most powerful strategies for lasting change is a slow, targeted, unglamorous change.
Oh, I love that you put unglamorous in there because people want it to be sexy.
Yes.
They want it to be this like, oh, thing that they've been missing. They want it to be this huge, and it's not sexy at all. It's so basic.
And I believe in America, in our culture, we sell instant results.
That's what sells to instant results.
People that do not know how to sustain the hard, which is the boring, and which is the non-beautiful, and it is the, like, you go to the gym and you don't see results and you go to the gym again the next day and you keep going even though you're not seeing results because you believe in the process.
It's that thing I was telling you, how we glamorize giving yourself grace, but grace without grit, what's the point, right? Because the grit is the follow through. It's like, yes, there's a place as women to give yourself a space and to be gracious, but then that gets overextended and that's where the lack of the follow through comes into play. And it's like, but I'm just giving myself grace.
Yes. We had just talked about this as well for me, that one of the things that I have to have as a part of everything that I do when it comes to managing food, managing my body, is that I have to go very slow and steady because I lived in this extreme world where I either ate 10,000 calories of food or 1,000 calories or under of food. And I mean, to the extreme, I could go to town. So I have to be very measured and very calculated in how many things that I take on that are new, or ways of kind of growing and improving. Little ways of tweaking my diet, little ways of tweaking even my exercise program. I have to go small and steady so that I can sustain it. But what I have found in this, and what I found even in working with people, is that when we go small and steady, then we don't feel it as painfully. And we are able to make those changes. And so, when you think about all the things that you have to do as a part of your week, it's almost like if you just said, well, Monday, guess what you got to do your whole week? You got to do this and this and this, and by Friday, you're going to have all of this done. I don't know about you, but most of the time I'm like, forget it.
Yeah, that's like way overwhelming. Yeah.
But if we say every single day, today, the target is get to the gym for 30 minutes. The target is not eating perfectly, but let's prioritize protein today. Yep. That's it, right? Okay. And we work on that for a week. We work on consistency for a week in whatever that looks like, those little things. Then next week we can add to it.
It's that compounding effect. It snowballs.
Let's add in a little bit more fiber.
Yep.
Let's keep that protein, add in a little bit more fiber. Let's get in a couple more steps.
Yep, it becomes much more manageable. I always say it's like, we always plan that not everything goes to plan kind of thing, right? And when life be lifing, as it always does, it's never perfect. When we can make these small sustainable changes, because let's face it, you guys, the thing that goes is the thing that's met with the most resistance, right? And so when you are trying to completely overhaul your life, and we're going to just talk health and fitness right now, but you're like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. That's your goal, whatever number. And you completely overhaul and you go from not working out at all to 5 days a week, not tracking anything to only trying to eat 1,200 calories, to completely cutting out all of your favorite food groups, to, not really prioritizing movement a ton. It's never been something you've been mindful or intentional of. And now all of a sudden you're trying to hit 10,000 steps a day. You're like, what in the actual? And when things get chaotic and overwhelming, again, the thing that goes is the thing that's met with the resistance. So you throw the baby out with the bathwater. So you give up before you give yourself a chance to succeed, right? Yep. And so if we can utilize this compounding effect, Atomic Habits, perfect. I love that book. I love, if you have not read Atomic Habits, please go, if you're not a reader, put it on your audiobook.
Fabulous book.
Such an amazing, amazing book. And I love how he gives the example of the person that goes to the gym and, they just start by just getting up and driving to the parking lot.
That's it.
And then they do that for a week. And then they go in and they start by walking in.
Yep.
And then they do that for a week. And it seems like saying that seems slightly silly, but when you are starting to cultivate and you're starting to build habits, again, it compounds, you guys. And at the end of the day, action drives results, right? Action will always drive results. Your motivation is fleeting. It's a luxury. It's not always going to be there, but you don't get, action drives results. But in order for you to get to a place where you can actually sustainably, consistently implement the action, you have to cultivate these values and these habits. And it's that all or nothing approach that produces all or nothing results. And I see it day in and day out. And so instead of, I'm going to completely overhaul and flip my entire world upside down, just like Ann said, how can I get in more protein today? That's going to be the one thing I'm going to start tracking, monitoring my protein intake. And if I'm somebody who is only consistently eating 50 grams of protein, which is so common when women come to us for support. Absolutely. So common. If I'm only eating 50 grams of protein, I'm moving that up to 65.
Yeah.
I'm going to master that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go from 65 up to 80. And then I'm going to master that. Instead of 50 grams of protein up to 150, as somebody who has 150 gram protein, that would be overwhelming. And I mean, Ann struggles and she does this consistently, right? And so that would be so overwhelming if you're used to only getting 50 grams of protein. You're like, what in the actual, how am I going to do this? And then you give up, you pull the effort card because it's uncomfortable and it's overwhelming.
This is where I say my phrase is process over goals. It's not that the goals aren't important. Absolutely. Keep your goals. But rather, when we can nail the process of how we meet the goals, the process will win out every single time. And if your default process is, I'm just going to do whatever I feel like today or whatever I'm motivated to do this week, you will constantly fail your goals because you're going off of what you feel instead of what you know to be true.
Yep. And feelings are not facts.
That is right. And so once we move into a place of, I believe in this system, or I believe in the place that I know where I want to go and I know the steps that I need to go, but I'm going to just, it's like eating an elephant. We just take a simple bite and one bite every day, right? That's all you do. One tiny little movement. And there was a woman I worked with not too long ago that we just did this. And I said, and she was worried about, well, I eat too much sugar and I do this, then I do that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And we did this. We did the small step thing. I didn't even work with her that diligently on nutrition. I just said, let's get a little bit more protein. Let's do a little bit more steps. Let's get a little bit more water in, right? And we cultivated some goals around it. And she came back and I hadn't seen her in a little bit. She came back after 3 months and she said, I lost 25 pounds.
Damn.
And I wasn't even hungry. And she's like, and I kept eating pizza and I was still having dessert.
Crazy how that works.
And she had some weight to lose, but she said, she was in her 60s and she said, I spent my entire life yo-yo dieting and it was really this easy the whole time.
Again, fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. It really is.
And she said, if I could go back and take away all those moments and all those months and weeks and years that I was restricting and not giving myself food and not under eating and hungry all the time, she's like, just to know that I could have done it the whole time, just this simply. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is one of the number one things we hear. It's like, Nicole, if I just would have found you 10 years ago, where were you 10, 15, 20 years ago when I was in the thick of if I never knew that it didn't have to be soul sucking. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, there's intentionality behind it. Things are going to have to shift. I'm not saying it's going to be sunshine and rainbows, all day, every day, but it doesn't have, I don't have to, my hair doesn't have to fall in chunks and I don't have to restrict every tiny little thing and I don't have to completely cut carbs and walk around like a zombie. Where was this 15 years ago kind of thing? And that's powerful. And again, it is the nuances and it is taking time to actually educate yourself. And that's what women don't want to do. They want generic because generic is easy. Oh, if I just cut carbs, then I'll lose weight. Oh, if I only eat within these magical windows. Oh, if I only eat whole foods.
Stop following people on social media that tell you, I did it like this. Here's my sample meal plan and my exercise routine. Please don't do that. Like, I'm not saying that it's awful, but it's awful.
It's awful. Let's be honest.
It may not be good.
She's trying to be nice. She's trying to. It's awful. And what works for Susie down the road is not going to work for you. And that's what people don't want to put context to. Actually, somebody made a really snide comment on my social media the other day. She had said something, and it was like I was giving some tips for something, and she's like, I'm so sick of these influencers. Well, what's the answer? And I'm like, well, first and foremost, Susie, my entire page is dedicated to the answers, sweetie. If you were to do some research, you would find the answers. But what you're lacking here is context. I can't give every single person the answer to their, I don't know your individual variables. I don't know you from Adam. Yeah. So there's so much missing context here for me to just, and I give, like, my page is just full of free. Like, if you were to implement everything I give you, you would see results. But what works for Anne and Anne's macros doesn't work for me and Mike. Yes. Like, right? Like, again, there's so much individuality there. There's so much context that's lacking, and everybody wants a generic answer. And it's like, sorry, honey, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't.
And I think you hit the nail on the head when we talked about this. Was it yesterday or the day before, where we were talking about how everybody wants it until you get into the thick of it, and then they don't want it, right? And so the number of people, there was a social media post that I saw. It was this woman who was middle-aged. She was absolutely shredded. She looked amazing, had this amazing six-pack, before and after transformation, and then her list of things that she didn't do. Like, as I kept reading down the list, I was like, oh no, please don't do that. No, it was like no sugar, no alcohol, no soda, no processed food, no, like, it was all these no's. And I thought, all right, like, I don't know about you, but like, none of that sounded like an enjoyable life.
No, it does not. And I love that you brought this up, because people see women like that, and everybody aspires to be shredded and ripped and abs and all of those things. People don't realize what goes into that look. That is miserable. Yes. What goes into sustaining and looking like that year round. Now, it's one thing to, again, people who compete and, you know, you step on a stage and this is your sport and this is your livelihood, or you're getting shredded for a magazine. Cool, fire. Like, do your thing. I've had multiple photo shoots where I've done that, but what goes into sustaining and maintaining that is a miserable existence.
Yes.
And people don't realize what really goes into it. And so what I say by it's like, most people don't realize, it's like you want it until you realize what goes into something like that. So that sounds really cool until you're eating dog shit low calories and you have no energy, and your cardio is at an hour plus a day, and you're strength training 5-6 days a week, and you can't go out and enjoy life because it doesn't fit within your macros. And there is none of those things that are exciting. That's what goes into walking around shredded year round. It's miserable. It's a trade-off that I would never want to make. And we're talking about that.
And as women, we will justify in the moment everything to say simply, I want that body and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, I have more women fight me when I say things like, you need to rest and eat more. And they're like, well, what?
Yeah, oh yeah. Because that's uncomfortable. Like, that goes
and I said,
backwards.
Well, hang on. You're willing to do anything to get into a better body.
anything except, yeah,
everything but eat more and rest more.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, like, had I said, hey, work out every day for 2 hours and eat 1,200 calories, they would be like, yes, I can do that.
I can do that. I can grind
Give
it
up
out.
sugar,
Yeah.
never have dessert again. They'd be like, all right, I'm on board.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
At least for 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to point something out. I hear a lot of women say this, that the food noise goes away if they do those things, if they give up flour and sugar and all this, and alcohol and all this stuff. And what I will say is that, yes, it does disappear until it doesn't.
You mask it. It doesn't go away. Like, you're masking it.
So you might crave those foods less because you're not consuming them. We crave what we consume.
Yeah.
However, the problem is that we still secretly covet them. And we know that because we'll go to events and eventually, and I will say this time and time again, it doesn't matter what diet they're on, that women have let these things go. I will hear it either 6 months later, 3 months later, 5 years later, 1 year later, 2 years later. They fell off the wagon and they didn't get back on.
Yep.
And there's a reason why you didn't get back on. It's because it was never sustainable to begin with.
Yep. And it masks it. Like, when you are, I talk about this often, when you're generally eating more whole foods, more protein, more fiber, the cravings are going to, like Amanda said,
Yes.
they're going to, I don't want to say diminish completely, because everybody wants a donut from time to time, but they will dramatically decrease, right? But until you actually work on your relationship with food and you understand how to fuel your body and you understand the breakout of food, like you will never get into a place where you're in the driver's seat and you don't look at the donut as bad and kale as good. And that's what women do, is they assign emotion to food. And it's good versus bad. And so it's like, well, I cut all these things out because they were bad. And I feel so much better. And it's like, well, yeah, you feel better, Whole Foods, but and I get this all the time with women, it's like, well, it's like, well, I did this, and this, and, I dropped 25 pounds. Cool. But did the diet really work if you're constantly thinking about the thing that you can't have and your hair's falling out in chunks and you're absolutely miserable? Is that your definition of success?
Yes.
Because that's not my definition of success.
And that's not food freedom.
No, that's a prison.
That is not food freedom.
No, it's not.
Food freedom to me is exactly what I did on the way here. I saw a croissant. I wanted it. I had it. But I had the amount that I knew I could handle. And I had everything else to support my day.
Yep.
And I enjoyed the croissant. Yep. And then I moved on.
And then you moved on. And you fit it into your day, and life is Gucci kind of thing.
That's right.
That is truly when you understand how to give your body what it needs and combine it with what you love. All right, last question, and this is a good one. I know we've been on for a while. People are going to be like, they might have to break this one up. So for those that are continuing to listen, but
part two.
Part two. So Maria says, I keep saying, I love this, and I know you're going to have so much to say about this. I keep saying I'm protecting my peace, but sometimes I feel like I'm just avoiding the stuff I don't want to deal with. How do I know the difference?
That's a really good question.
I know this is a good one.
Protecting my peace and versus avoiding the stuff that I don't want to deal with.
She's basically saying I'm using that as a mask because it's like, oh, well, this is hard, but really this is just giving me, like, I'm giving myself grace. I think that if I had to read into that without more context, that's what I get from that.
Yep. So we were talking about the difference between avoidance and I'm going to say this, and you may disagree with me, and this may hurt some feelings, but it's irresponsibility. So, and I have been in many seasons and in many different things that I struggle with. I can move into that. I can slip into that mode too. The difference between avoidance and irresponsibility and responsibility and actual rest. And the difference is, and this is how we know, is that when we get to a place of actual rest, we've confronted the thing that we've been avoiding. So we are no longer overwhelmed by it. We're no longer challenged. Like, we have a plan and a strategy and a way that we're going to address it. It doesn't matter if it is your marriage or your food or what's happening at work. If you can at least spot the problem, say it out loud, say what it is that you're struggling with the problem, and then in some way, shape, or form, develop at least one thing that you're going to do about it, you are starting to address that problem.
Yep.
And when we're really resting, when we're avoiding, what happens is that we're usually doing a lot of numbing, a lot of doom scrolling, a lot of Amazon shopping,
I'm not guilty
a
of
lot
that.
of, I'm speaking to you and me at the same moment, a lot of nibbling on desserts and sweet treats. And it's all because our body is kind of screaming at us. This is that nervous system thing.
Yep.
It's essentially saying, you've got this thing that you need to attend to. But psychologically, this defense mechanism I had that wants to move into avoidance and justify, I just need a break. I've had a long week. I'll take a look at that bill. I'll take a look at that whatever. I'll do this tomorrow. My favorite line is, I'll do it just tomorrow. I did this with my dissertation. I had 20 pages of a 100-page dissertation to write for 5 years. 5 years. Every single day. I kid you not. Every single day I thought about that dissertation. And for 5 years I said, I'll get to it tomorrow. And there was always a valid excuse. That's avoidance, right? And I was working 70 hours. I had 7 children I was raising at the time, right? And finally my husband, who I love dearly because he has done so much work as well, he confronted me and he said, just don't get it done then. No one's going to love you less. And I was furious with him. And you know what? I got it done in 2 months.
In 2 months.
Because I was mad at him. I was like, I'm going to show you.
I was like, you were driven in a completely different way.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, oh, that's all it took. Where was this 5 years ago?
And what's funny about it, it was only 30 minutes a day. I committed to every single day. It didn't matter if I ended my day at 10:30 at night. I was exhausted. I was exhausted because I was raising 7 kids. My husband was he was going to Mexico at the time, Monday through Friday. I was by myself, working a full-time job, 30 minutes a day. That was all it took. And had you told me that 5 years ago, I would have kicked myself and then kicked myself again for not doing that sooner.
Yep.
Right? And that is the difference, because when there's a strategy involved, I'm no longer spending my day going, oh, I should have gotten that done. I'm not living my day in regret. I'm living my day going, well, I didn't get it all written, but I got in my 30 minutes.
Yep. Intentionality, again, there's intentionality behind it. It's like my favorite word. It is my favorite word to use. And sometimes, not sometimes, I would say doing the hard thing when you actually check it off the box is the most peaceful thing, right? In the end, it's like when you're looking for peace, it's like being able to check it off, and doing the hard thing can be one of the most peaceful things. It gives you that sense of, you're like, oh, I did the hard thing. Like you said, 2 months later, you're like, it's done. I've been avoiding, the overwhelm goes away. I've been avoiding this for 5 years, and I knocked it out in 2 months.
Yes.
And when you look at the time frame there, right, like the percentage of time there, it's just like, I mean, what is that, like 5 years to 2 months, like 96% of the time. It took you 4% of, like, I mean, if you looked at the math, I mean, like my girl mathing.
Let's not look at the math. It's embarrassing as a psychologist that I couldn't have worked myself to a different spot.
But I mean, like, ultimately, though, that is, though, it just, when you do the hard thing, and again, it's that fear is a mile wide, inch deep. It's like we typically tend to make it to be just so much more in our head than what we want to make it out to be, if we were to be intentional about it and just get really mindful of it, I guess. And just, like you said, a half hour a day.
Go in a direction, but go in only one direction. Mm-hmm. So I can say for the amount of misinformation and disinformation out there about how to lose weight and how to manage hormone is astronomical.
Oh my gosh.
And at any given point in time, you can go to 12 different influencers page and find 40 different supplements that you can take that are jacking your body up, and do a billion different exercise routines and meal plans, and still not get to where you need to be.
And that's why I see people do this all the time. They take this person's advice here. They cherry pick what they want to hear, right? Yes. And they always pick out what they want to hear. So this person said, this person's still afraid of carbs. So this person said low carb and that's what they want to hear. And then this person said they don't really want to strength train. They know they should, but this person said they just need to run or burn more calories. And then this person said this. So they cherry pick all the things that, feel good to them, they want to hear. And then they combine and create their own plan. And they're like, but nothing's working. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason, because you just took 18 different approaches and put them into one. So like Ann said, pick one thing and do that one thing for a period of time. Allow yourself to stay consistent to that one thing too. That's the other part. It's like a week isn't consistent. Like you don't get to drop the 30 pounds that you gained in the last 2 years in a week. And that's what happens is women want to, the week or the 2 weeks or whatever it is they put into it. And then they want to, write it off as if it doesn't work. And it's just like, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. One thing, stay consistent for a period of time.
And I want to add to this, make sure that one thing isn't something that you cannot do long term.
Yes.
So if you are picking something, do not justify sacrifices that you really don't want to have to make when you hit your milestone. So that's what I want to ask everyone and insist everyone say to themselves, is instead of being like, oh, I can give that up. I can give up sugar and flour and like alcohol and everything else and work out 2 hours a day. What I want to say is that when you lose the weight, will you be okay doing those things?
Yep.
Because a grand majority of us, we say yes to it. And then what happens in our head is we say, well, the second I lose the weight, I'll eat normally again. The second I lose the weight, I can have donuts again.
Mm-hmm. We do. We absolutely do. And then it's like, well, I'm only doing keto until I lose the weight, and then I'm too afraid to bring back carbs because I lost the weight, and then I'm too afraid to do it, and then I end up binging. But we were talking about this yesterday driving, and it's like there's a world where there might be a period of time where you might feel restricted in the very beginning when you are working towards a goal. So like Ann said, if you can't cut out wine and carbs, but there might be a period of time that you need to cut out sugar for a period of time as you cultivate skill sets and values. And you build what we call on our team that hurricane-proof foundation, as Jules calls it, right? Like we are building the foundation and we are creating habits. And we speak to, and I want to make this so very clear because people hear what they want to hear and they take what I say and they love to spin it. And so it's like Nicole talks about food freedom. Nicole absolutely talks about food freedom. But Nicole also talks about, people say 80-20, I'm more like the 90-10. And it's like if 90% of your day is coming from single ingredient whole food sources, we have that 10% for the flexibility, the fun foods, the soul foods as we call them, right? They fit into your day. But you don't get the 10%, or even let's use the 80-20 if that resonates more. You don't get the 20% until you've mastered the 80%.
That's right.
And that's where that's where they fall short. That's where they go backwards, is they want to lean into the 20% and they haven't mastered the 80%. They're not doing the things they do. They're not hitting their protein goals and their fiber goals and their step goals and their training goals. They're not doing those things consistently. But Nicole said food freedom. Yes, Nicole did say food freedom once you've mastered this. And I promise you, when you have the 80%, like when you've mastered the 80, the 20 is more than enough flexibility than what you need. It is more than enough to live a life that there is no restriction, to live a life where you get to go out with your girlfriends and have dinner like Ann and I did with glasses of wine and bacon wrap dates. It is more than enough to have those things when you've mastered and you've built the foundation.
And I want to point out something that you said in terms of there may be points in time that you need to give up the sugar. And the reason for that scientifically is what's known as a dopamine fast. And that's actually to rewire the body to respond to sugar appropriately. Because when we're over consuming sugar, when we're eating too much chocolate, too much ice cream, too many donuts, too many carbs, what happens is that the body, because you're flooding it with so much dopamine, it develops a tolerance to the dopamine, but then you crave the high level of dopamine that you experienced initially when you started like massively consuming that stuff. And so the reason we do it, and the reason we do it only for a short time frame and not for forever, is because that actually gets the body back to a baseline dopamine level that actually calms down that response in the body, so that when you do bring sugar back, and it doesn't have to take that long, when you do bring it back, you can bring it back in the appropriate portion sizes. Your body isn't responding to it like, as I like to call it, trash panda. You just want to eat it all and eat it all right now, right? You can have a little bit, you can move on.
Yep. I'm going to add to that too. And we were talking about this as well. I feel like we would just need to record ourselves and just have podcasts from conversations that we have. But we are yes, the dopamine, but there's also a world where, you know how many women I see that are walking around with undiagnosed autoimmune diseases? They don't realize it. There's a world that they don't realize that they walk around looking 6 months pregnant and bloated, and they're miserable, and they're constantly gassy and crampy and bloated because of their nutrition. And dairy is a huge trigger. I'm not saying dairy's bad. I love dairy, and my body can tolerate dairy just fine. But dairy is a huge trigger for women. Gluten can be a huge trigger for women. And so it is pulling out these can be inflammatory foods for a lot of people to see how your body responds. And then when we can slowly and strategically add them back in, and we can then identify what these culprits are, if there is something, then knowledge is power. And so again, women are walking around with these undiagnosed autoimmune. They're like, but I'm doing everything right. Well, yeah. I mean, your body is quite literally working against you at this point, right? Like, it's pissed off. And then we add in menopause on top of all of those things. And there's a world where we're looking to develop I don't want to say that we are resetting or revamping your metabolism, but we're looking to develop a new baseline. And we're looking to, like as Jules says, build the foundation, but we really want to see how your body responds and reacts to certain foods. At least that's how we operate on our team. And so it's very, very methodical, and it's very strategic. And there is a period of time where it will feel, dare I say, restrictive. It will feel, and for a lot of women, just as we pinpointed it earlier in the podcast, emotional, because your emotions are attached to these foods that we're asking you to, not for forever, but we're asking you to cut out for a period of time until we can, again, start to work on the foundation which we need, and the habits and stacking and doing all of those things, but also seeing how your body responds. You're just in a new phase of your life. And for some women, gluten's not the move. Like, we've got to cut it out. They respond. They have triggers to it. Some women, dairy is not the move. But when we know, that's powerful, right? Then you start to feel it. You're like, oh, I don't walk around looking 6 months pregnant. I'm not gassy. I'm not crampy. I'm not miserable. I have more energy. I'm not inflamed. I'm not puffy. And it's like, that's what we're looking for.
Yes.
That's what we're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Yes.
All right, you guys, this has been fun. And again, I just love, like, we can do this opposed to the screen. It just feels so much more natural.
It feels weird. I don't know that we're always natural.
I know. Well. For those watching on the recording, it's just like, you can see we're super casual, comfortable, saying my feet are up in the chair. I'm just like super cash, but I love these Q&As. They're so much fun. With questions that you guys have, please, if you have anything that comes through, both DM inboxes are always open, and we can put them in the vault. And we always appreciate if you guys find value to the podcast, a 5-star review, comments, all of those things. And tell them, Anne's profile is in the link in bio, but tell them where they can find you.
Yep, drannlewis.com. You can find links to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you want to know more about food noise, addiction, and food freedom, I am your person. She is your person. She's the best one out there for that. And then if you guys are interested, obviously, in one-on-one coaching, this is what we do exceptionally well. Anne hosts calls for the team, and she's available for resources there as well. But we shall see you guys in the next episode. Ciao.
If this is helpful, give me a like, follow me, or subscribe for more.